And he's like, oh, it's in Indiana by Notre Dame. I'm like, awesome. I'm okay with a long-distance relationship. And then he said, it's a seminary. I decided it's okay. It's all right. Maybe he'll discern out, right? I kept waiting. My mom thought I was a little crazy. And she's like, did you know there's some boys who, I heard there's this boy who wanted to go out on a date with you. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. He probably mentioned like 4 times in one conversation. Like, I'm not for sure going to be a priest, you know. Like, I'm just discerning. I might not. I know, right? I knew, I could just tell he cared so much, but he didn't know. He did not know how I felt. And if I said something, it would change everything. But I felt in my heart that the Lord was saying, do not. And it was heartbreak in the best way. Not a day goes by that I don't think of him. I remember his voice. I wonder how he's been. And I'm not asking if he's thinking of me too. It's enough to trust I'm loved by you. After this heartbreak that I explained to you, the Lord worked in a tremendous way and very swiftly now that my heart was broken open. I went on this pilgrimage to Europe, and the theme was a new heart. I'm telling you what, just like the Lord did a tremendous work in my heart. Do you remember my confirmation crush? He had come back into my life as a friend. He was trying to date me, and I was like, no, like, I'm in love with the seminary, and it's complicated, you know? And yet, somehow the Lord changed my heart, and I saw my confirmation crush. His name is David. I saw that he was everything I could ever desire to have in a spouse. And finally, for the first time, my heart was truly open to him. And I could tell you a whole other story just about that, but I will shorten it by saying we got married and we lived happily ever after. And we had a bunch of kids. We have 4, by the way. So just shortly into my engagement, he had come back to town on a break from school, and David knew about this, and he said, yeah, I think that would be great for you to finally have this conversation. Not in the way that I always thought, right, as a kid. But I sat across the table, and I just told him all that he had meant to me, and I was so grateful for who he was in my life. And he said, really? Because when I found out you were engaged, I was like, man! Because I always had the biggest crush on you, too. And then he said, it's not too late, is it? And I laughed like you're laughing because I thought he was joking. He wasn't joking! Okay, he asked me 3 times in the course of this conversation, do we still have time to talk about this? I'm like, no! I'm engaged! You're gonna be a priest! Are you kidding me? But by the last time that he asked, it was like with tears in his eyes, like he was really serious and wanted to know, am I okay? Like, am I choosing David because I really believe that this is where God is calling me? And I said, yes, I really believe, and I'm so happy. And he said, okay, good. Then I'm happy too. How do you think I felt after that? Upset. I was like, what is this? Like, now you're here? Now you're asking me, right? I have a song about it called Bad Timing. I'm not going to play it tonight, but if you want to listen to it, like, online later, you'll be like, I feel that, right? You know? His full name is Matthew Edward, and Matthew Edward Fase. But now most people call him Father Matt. And he's here tonight. Oh, do you feel the tension in this room? Do you feel the tension? Oh, that is glorious. Stay there. Stay there. Father Matt, Father Matt. Do you know what a slow clap is? Father Matt Fase.
Okay, so in my defense, The whole time that I'd known Amanda, and when we would get together for these retreats and things, she was always amazing, right? And clearly out of my league. But that was okay. There was a joy and a love for life and for God that was so evident just being around her. And just being a part of that was amazing. As I entered the seminary, I entered because I thought God might be calling me to the priesthood, maybe. I was pretty unsure. I was 18, and I knew just enough to know that I didn't know anything. So I entered the seminary because I needed a place to discern, was God calling me to this life? And I thought, well, I mean, it'll only be 1 year. And then I'll realize, no, I'm not called to this, and that'll be the end. But at the end of that first year, I really loved it. The way that I was growing and the things I was learning about who God was and who I am, it was beautiful. I stayed in another year, stayed in about 9 years. But along this journey, a big part of it was this question of celibacy. Is this a part of the priesthood that I could really live? Is this a part of our religious vows that I could live well? So one of the things they told us, our formators, was, it's important to ask the question and to think about what that would be like to not have a wife, to not have a family, but when you can think about it in specific terms, that helps clarify it sometimes. So I thought, well, who's someone I could think about? I'd seen that Amanda was really doing some great work in ministry. She was spreading her music more and more. She had a website with a bunch of updates. So I checked that website anytime I didn't want to do homework, which was a lot. Later, I found out the website tracked that stuff. Kind of embarrassing. So I knew what Amanda was up to, and I was just so proud that she was able to go around proclaiming the gospel. So I also thought, what would it be like to not be with Amanda? I already wasn't. I knew what that was like, but in the future, too. What would it be like to not have a family? To not have children? Those questions. They're deep questions. And I found that while I really desired that, there was also a great sense of peace about it. And in that as well, I started praying deeply for Amanda. I started praying that the Lord would protect her, watch over her, guide her, that the Lord would keep all the guys who might hurt her or lead her astray far from her, and that the Lord would bring the right man into her life, a good man, a man who is better than me. Because what I wanted more than anything else, I found as I was praying about Amanda and about myself, that I wanted Amanda to thrive. I really wanted her to do well, to continue this beautiful ministry, and to continue to grow in her love for God. And also, the way I worded that prayer, it still could have been me. If that's what the Lord wanted, I was going to leave that option open. So this had been my prayer for Amanda for a few years. So when she told me that she always had a crush on me, I thought, what do you mean? So I was taken aback. But the beauty then that I saw in that conversation was the way that she talked about David. And I could see that my prayers really had been answered. That the Lord had protected her through me in ways that I didn't even know, in guarding her heart and helping her grow. And that the Lord had brought the right man into her life, a good man, a man who is better than me. And it was with great peace that I was able to see that in Amanda's life. Divine providence, God's action in our life, is a beautiful thing. It's a confusing thing. It's a chaotic thing. And it's a thing that I truly believe we can only see best in retrospect. That when we look back on the path of our life, we can see how God has been guiding us, how God has been leading us and protecting us to bring us to where we are today. What a great gift that is. But that doesn't always help us see it in the moment, right? We can notice God's providence behind us, but we can't always see it right here today. And so the gift that our faith gives us in this is calling us to trust that even if right now we cannot see how God is leading us, we can't see how God might be with us in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of our relationships or our broken relationships, we can trust that if we continue to seek His will in the future, we'll be able to see where God is now. We'll be able to know that God is with us, even here, in the midst of the confusion, in the midst of the cross.
So Father Matt is the godfather of one of my daughters. He baptized our youngest daughter. And my husband, David, and Father Matt are dear friends, and Father Matt's like an extended part of our family now. So like, whoa, God's providence, right? Like God's love is way, what, like I really wouldn't think we'd be here. I mean, I would think we'd be here, but not like this. Did you get that? Did you catch that? Okay. Okay, would you step down here with me, Father Matt? Okay, guess what? Father Matt and I just wrote a book together called When God Wrecks Your Romance. I am not joking.